Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Shua Tov, Getvach. We learn Mishnah Pesachim, Perek Ches, Chapter 8, Mishnah Hey, Mishnah 5. All right. So, quick introduction. A person who is Tameh on Erev Pesach and will continue to be Tameh into the night cannot, of course, partake of the Korban Pesach because he's Tameh. You're not up to there yet. Now, if he's not going to be able to eat from the Korban Pesach at night, he can't be part of it. Okay. Now, however, let's say you have a person who is Tameh on Erev Pesach, but by the night of Pesach, he will be Tahor. His tumah will be gone by night. So if you are Tameh Mace, if the reason you're Tameh is because you came into contact with a dead body, then it doesn't help you the fact that by the time Pesach night comes, you're going to be Tahor. Doesn't help. Based on a pasuk, if Erev Pesach you are Tameh due to a dead body, you have to wait for Pesach Sheni. You have to wait for a month later. But if let's say you're Tameh for other reasons, if you're going to be, so you're Tameh on Erev Pesach, but by nightfall you're going to become completely Tahor, then you can be included. You can register on the Korban Pesach, it's checked it for you, and eat at night. Okay. So now the Mishna is going to illustrate this. Zav shara'a shtei re'iyos. We're talking about a zav. A zav is a man who has had an emission from his male organ. It's not semen, it's something else. And that makes him tameh. It's called a zav. Now, zav shara'a shtei re'iyos. If the zav saw this emission twice, which means he could have seen it twice in one day or once 2 consecutive days. If this is what happens to him, the halacha is he remains tameh for 7 days. And on the 7th day, he goes to the mikveh, and by night, on the night of the 8th, he is tar. He can partake of truma, of karbanis. So zav sharash shtei re'iyos, the zav who saw twice, sheichten alav bashvi. If his 7th day comes on an Erev Pesach, which means that by nightfall he can be tar, we will shech the Korban Pesach for him. Only if he makes sure to go to the mikveh, of course. It's got to make sure he goes to the mikveh on the 7th day, because otherwise he won't become tar on the night. But if this is what he goes to the mikveh on the 7th day, we can shech the Korban Pesach for him. Now, Ra'ah Shalosh, if let's say, and of course the slaughtering has to be before the shechita of the Korban Pesach. When the Korban Pesach is shechted, it has to be that he's going to be able to eat from it. If by the time you shechted it, he didn't go to the mikveh, it's not going to help you. Even though theoretically maybe he can go afterwards, but the point is, by the shechita, by the slaughter of the Korban Pesach, he has to be in that state of being capable by night to be able to eat. Now, Ra'ah Shalosh, let's say he saw 3 times, either 3 times in one day or 1 time 3 consecutive days. Then the halacha is that besides he has to wait for the 7th day to go to the mikveh, he has to bring karbanis on the 8th day. He has a set of sacrifices to bring on the 8th day, and only after those sacrifices can he partake from karbanis, from sacrifices. And therefore, in our situation here, when we're talking about Ra'ah Shalosh, he saw 3 times. Sheichin alav b'shmini shaloi. Then the halacha is we will shech the Korban Pesach for him on Erev Pesach if it's his 8th day. If it's his 8th day, it's the day that he's supposed to bring his karbanis, and after the karbanis are brought, that is when he can partake of a carbon. Then we say we can shech the Korban Pesach for him because by night he will be able to eat the Korban Pesach. Okay, so when the situation calls for him to bring karbanis on the 8th day because he saw 3 times, then only if Erev Pesach is his 8th day can we include him in the Korban Pesach, because only then will he after the karbanis are brought, will he be able to partake from the Korban Pesach at night? Now, does this mean he has to actually have brought these karbanis as a zav? Does he have to actually have brought it before the Korban Pesach shecht? He actually brought the karbanis? So the Bartanura says you don't have to actually bring it. However, let me read to you how they explained it. However, he must at least deposit the money for his zav offerings in the temple chest marked for that purpose, so that we may be sure that his offerings will be brought that day and his tumah will be fully gone at nightfall. The Kohanim made sure to empty the chest each day and sacrifice all the offerings for which money had been deposited. We learned this a while ago, but if you had to bring a set of karbanos, let's say in this situation, you're a zav, and you have to bring karbanos, what you could do is you could actually, the money that will cost the karbanos, you deposit in a special chest, which means that all the money in this chest is money given towards this carbon of zav. So when the Kohanim then empty the chest, they go ahead then and they bring the karbanos for you. They don't know it's you. It doesn't. They don't have to know it's for you. The bottom line is you put it in. It's from your money, and they do it for whoever put the money in. So at the end of the day, you don't have to actually physically bring those animals. If you want to, you could, but you don't have to do it that way. So therefore, in this case, where we're trying to say that, although he is still tamei when the carbon pesach is being shechted, he's okay because by night he's going to be okay. In this case, where we're talking about the Erev Pesach as his 8th day, the day he has to bring his karbanos, so that the following night he can be tired to eat the carbon. He has to have deposited the money in that chest.
He's paid in advance.
Right. He has to put the money in that chest for the Kohanim to have enough time to empty it and bring it. But you can rely on that. If that money was put in time, it's going to be taken care of. The Kohanim make sure to take care of it. So you have to make sure, as long as it was the 7th day you went to the mikveh, and the 8th day you deposit your money in the chest to make sure your karbanos will be brought. By the time the Karban Pesach is shechted, you're good to go. You're good to go.
You don't have.
So even though the Mishna doesn't speak out this part, the Bartanura says it. Okay.
When you're bringing a korban, you don't have to be at the.
You could have apparently. Depending on the carbon. I mean, if you have to put your hands on it, maybe you do. You do. It seems like in this case, you don't have to.
Really?
Okay. Next. Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom literally translates means a woman who observes a day corresponding to a day. Now, what that means is like this. When a woman has her period, so the expectation is that she is going to bleed anywhere between 1 day and 7 days. At day 7, when she stops bleeding, she can actually, she can go to the mikveh, and by night she's going to be tar. She's going to be tar. Now, if let's say after those 7 days she sees blood again, there's an 11-day period in which we say that if she bleeds any further, it's considered abnormal, and depending on the situation of depending on how much she bleeds, it's going to make a difference to what her status is. So, for instance, let me read you how it goes here. If after purifying herself from original flow, meaning after the first flow, 7 days, she experiences a single flow within those 11 days, okay, which is day 8 to day 18 from the beginning of her period, she is tamei until the following day. She then immerses herself and remains tamei until nightfall. So it was Monday when she had this. We'll call it. It was within the 11 days after her 7-day period. She sees on Monday. So on Monday she's tamei, and on Tuesday she will be tamei. But on Tuesday, if she's not bleeding anymore, she goes to the mikveh, and by night she's tar. If let's say she sees 2 days, okay, 2 days. So then the same thing is going to be on day 3. She waits till day 3. Day 3, if she's not bleeding, she goes to the mikveh, she's tar by night. If she sees 3 days, she then becomes a zava, which means that now she has to make sure that she has 7 clean days. Shiva Nakiyim, 7 clean days without any sighting of blood. And then on the 8th day, she will go ahead and bring a set of sacrifices, which will then make her tar to be able to partake of karbanos. Okay? So now the Mishnah is going to go through all these scenarios, again, based on when they come out Erev Pesach. So Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom, a woman who is watching 1 day to the next. Shoychetin Olah B'Sheni Shalah. On her 2nd day, if Erev Pesach is her 2nd day, which means she's going to go to the mikveh that day, and by night she's going to be okay, then we can shech the Karban Pesach for her. Rasa Shnei Yamim, let's say she saw 2 days, and Shoychetin Olah B'Shlishi. That if her 3rd day is Erev Pesach, you can shecht for her. Again, you got to make sure she has to have gone to the mikveh, of course, to make herself tar on that third day. And then by night she'll be okay. V'hazava, let's say she's a zava. Let's say she has to go through the whole waiting for seven nekiyim. She has to go through the 7 clean days. And on the 8th day she brings her carbon. V'hazava shechtin ala b'shmini. Then we will shecht for her if Erev Pesach is her 8th day. Erev Pesach is her 8th day, which means that's the day that her carbonas are going to be brought. And again, she deposited the money to make sure that it's going to be brought by the time the Karban Pesach is slaughtered. Then we can check the Karban Pesach for her, because again, as long as she has gone to the mikveh before the shechita, then we know that by night she's going to for sure be tar, and therefore she'll be able to eat from the Karban Pesach, and we check the Karban Pesach for her. It's important to know that again, once we're talking about, we went through this whole, cycle, 7 days, 11 days. Nowadays, that's not relevant, because nowadays, any woman who becomes a nida, anyone who has a period, has to go through 7 clean days. It's according to the Torah law of what she goes through. That is what this discussion of the Mishnah is talking about. Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
A good tvach.
Does a woman have the? I thought